What is up, goalies? Welcome back to the DIY Goalie Podcast. We have Connor LaCouvee from LaCouvee Goaltending with us today, who's also got a couple years of pro under his belt. So we're going to kind of get a few perspectives from him. How are we doing today, Connor?
Good, Nathan. Doing well. Just finished a little workout here. Happy to be on the podcast.
That's good. Well, we'll try and not make you talk too much and lose your breath here. So get your cardio in. Why don't we start off with a little bit of a kind of background on yourself, where you've played and kind of moving up into your transition to coaching. We'll get into a little bit more of the nitty gritty, but just kind of a general overview.
Yep, awesome. So originally from Qualicum Beach, British Columbia, Canada. Played minor hockey here. Sophomore year of high school, grade 10, I went to Athelbury College of Notre Dame. 3 years of boarding school there. It was phenomenal. Really enjoyed it. Spent 2 years in the BCHL. Got a scholarship to Boston University. Played 3 years there. Graduated a year early. And then transferred. It was a grad transfer to Minnesota State Mankato. After Mankato, I played 4 years, three years pro in North America, in Laval for the Rockets, Maine Mariners in the Coast, and Tucson Roadrunners in Arizona's farm team. And then I played the past 3 years professionally in Europe, 1 year in Finland, 2 years in Slovakia, and I'm going back to Slovakia for my seventh year pro. Over the past 2 years, I've been running goalie development programs on my own through LaCouvee Goaltending, both on the ice, off the ice, in person, obviously, and then virtually through video review on Zoom and just kind of career consults and talking hockey with goalies and parents.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's good. So I know kind of traditionally the route that players would kind of go pro, they'd go the major junior route and kind of play in the CHL there, but we're starting to see a bit of a shift away from that, and college is becoming a lot more of a popular route. So I kind of want to, I guess, two parts to this then. So how did going the college route kind of help you transition kind of towards playing pro afterwards? And also, even a step before that, the private school with Notre Dame, how do you think that kind of helped to shape the goalie that you've kind of become?
For sure. So I'll start with Notre Dame. There are so many great things I learned at that school, and it's really tough to put into words, right? Really,
Yeah,
so
I've
many
heard
life
lots of good
lessons
things
I
from the
learned there.
program.
Yeah, hard work,
Yeah.
dedication, camaraderie, proper habits, right? When to go to sleep, when to eat, when to, hydrate, all of these various things. I had a really good base going to Notre Dame, being surrounded by like-minded athletes, like-minded people that wanted to push themselves, people that wanted to get better in whatever field that was, right? So I was living with, I was training with, I was on the team of, very like-minded people, very ambitious people. So I think that helped to kind of mold my psyche and understand what it's going to take from me to get from playing, U18, U16 hockey to play junior hockey, and from junior hockey to play college, and college hockey to play professionally. Now, for the second part of the question, it was talk about college hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think for myself, I don't think I was really ready for major junior at that age. I had went to maybe one or two development camps, when I was 17, Victoria Royals at the time, but I wasn't good enough. I mean, I think frankly that was probably the biggest detriment or deterrent from playing major juniors. I just wasn't good
Yeah.
enough. I developed a little bit later, my last year of junior. That's when I kind of really came into my own in terms of goaltending. And so, obviously, the more time you get to hone your craft at a lower level, you get to master it at that level. Then I think it's so much. I think it's so much more beneficial to go up once you've mastered it at a set level, instead of trying to reach up here and have to, rapidly develop your skill, rapidly acclimate to the said level. As far as the skill level, or as far as more people going major junior than college, I'd be interested to see the stats on it. I'm not sure what the statistics look like right now. I know when I was younger, there was a lot more major junior players. It was still widely regarded as maybe a better route in terms of trying to play professional hockey. But I think over the past couple of years, that's slowly being shattered, right? I think it was Michigan
Yeah,
2 years ago. They had four first round draft picks. I think when I
yeah,
played at school at Boston University, we had, quite a few. Clayton Keller, Jack Eichel. I wasn't there with Farabee. Kachuk, I was there with Kachuk, but like there's countless. McAvoy, Fabro, Greenway, Ottinger, countless players that I played with at Boston University that you'd be very lucky to get that skill level in major junior. So in terms of it maybe being, I think it's a more accessible route, major junior, but I'm not sure if I would put it at. I don't think it's a better route if you will say or can
yeah,
say.
for sure. Yeah, no, I think the shift towards kind of the junior college route, I don't know, anecdotally, anyways,
Mm-hmm.
seems to be a lot more popular now. But I also think too, there's something to be said, the quote, playing against men kind of thing instead of boys, like, a bit of a stretch there. But I know, like in college, the players do tend to be a little bit older, a little bit more physically mature, and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
can
Mm-hmm.
help with some of that competition too. I'm curious though, because I was in the same boat as you. Like when I played junior A, I wasn't quite good enough to be a major junior goalie. I think maybe towards the end of my career, I probably could have, but nobody wants a 20-year-old goalie coming
Mm-hmm.
into the league.
Yes,
But I'm curious, because my experience with it was one of the things that really helped in my junior career was starting to have access to that higher level of coaching too. And do you think that's something that maybe helped you to develop as a better goalie through the junior and then the college route?
for sure. Definitely. I think my last year of junior A, we got paired up with a goalie coach by the name of Alex Evans. He's now the head coach of Prince George Spruce Kings in the
Yeah,
BCHL, and he was absolutely phenomenal. He was integral to my success. He was a huge component behind it, and just being able to work
yeah,
with a goalie coach a couple days a week, being able to text with him, being able to kind of have a sounding board, I think is the biggest thing. Being able to have someone come back to you and say, I felt good this game. What did you see? Or I didn't feel good this game. What did you see? And I think that was having someone to confide in, having someone to work with, with that mental part of the game was the biggest step for me, or the biggest, I don't want to say hurdle. Hurdle's maybe not the right word, but biggest boost to
yeah,
my game at this point, if you will. Biggest
yeah,
developmental bump in my game, I think, at that point.
yeah, for sure. I know the shift in minor hockey is getting better with access to goalie coaches, but at least, back when we played, 10 plus years ago, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot. So finally getting to that junior A route seemed to be, you know, ha- finally having access to that, that more elite level coaching, I think
Mm-hmm.
helped for sure. Um, so having that experience when it comes to the private schooling at Notre Dame and then moving on to the college as well, what role do you think the academics play there too, and kind of how important that is to maybe some of the goalies out there?
Yeah, I definitely think it's important, right? I kind of said the standard answer for sure is obviously it's nice to have a high
Yeah,
school education, right? I think that's kind of the basic prerequisite for most jobs in the workforce right now. The university degree or the college degree is something that I think should be decided upon by the individual, right?
yeah,
You have a lot of people, I feel like, especially in America, that college is kind of an activity, kind of a hobby. Like it's something that you go into, and even in Canada too, myself going to Boston University at the time, going in without really understanding what I'm studying or why I
yeah,
want to study it or what jobs are available after I complete my degree, right? And that's something you don't need to have figured out before going in there. But I also think it's
Yeah.
something that should be paid attention to. And it's something that's important to each individual person, right? I can't really say my high school education or my undergrad or my master's helped me in terms of understanding the game of hockey. So I think I'd probably be lying if I said that. I think it's nice to have that. Maybe if you want to do something after after playing hockey, we all need to do something after, right? We finish playing, whether that's coaching or whether that's going into your field of education. I mean, I can tell you, and it might not be the best selling point for education, but I haven't really used my degrees whatsoever. I've
Yeah.
learned more reading books about said topics or running my business than
Yeah.
I have studying finance or studying sports management. So I think
Yeah.
that's something that is super important, especially in today's world where you can learn so much online for free too, right? You can learn on YouTube, you can learn on Khan Academy, you can learn Coursera, whatever you want to
Yeah.
take. I think Coursera is actually something where you the spark notes of it, but
Yeah.
so many different things. I mean, after I finished Mankato, I took a couple of courses on. I'm not exactly even sure what the platform was, CourseX, or it's paid certificates or paid courses. You can learn one step at a time, and I think it's important to continue developing as a person, continue developing your intellectual your intellectual levels, I guess if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Keep learning, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of playing hockey, I don't think it really had an impact on me. Maybe subconsciously, unconsciously, it did, but I mean, to
Yeah.
each their own, right?
Yeah. The one thing I found with the 2 years of college that I played just locally in Alberta here,
Mm,
was kind of the stark contrast between playing junior in the schedule, because with junior you're basically living and breathing hockey, and you have time to nap and foam roll and
mm,
stretch and do all that stuff, and then you get to college, and I mean it does vary depending on the course load you take, but I personally took a full course load on
mm.
top of playing, and that was quite the contrast in terms of the schedule where you know
Yeah,
you don't have time for a midday nap or
yeah.
stretch or whatever. So I think there's a little bit of positivity to that, I guess, that you can take out of when you go that route, is just a little bit of a different look in terms of your time management and all of that stuff. And I don't know if your experience was kind of similar to that, but
Oh, for sure. So in terms of like time management, in terms of like scheduling and developing as a person and maturing, for sure, college phenomenal, right? Because like you said, you're learning to deal, you juggle your social, your team, your academics, right? So
yeah.
you're really learning time management. You're really learning how to pick up after yourself, prioritize, as well as the maturity process, right? College, you have 4 years. And, when I went
Yeah.
in, I was 19, turning 20. It's a big, big time frame to mature from 19 to 23, right?
Yeah.
I think, playing professionally now or playing professionally when I was in North America, for me, you can really see the difference between someone who's played at college and someone who's just come off major junior, right?
Yeah.
And that's not a shot at anyone, but you can generally tell the collegiate players are a little bit more put together, a little bit more mature, and a little bit better with time management understanding. Major
Yeah.
junior is still very much you are playing the sport, you're loving the sport, you have unlimited time with this sport. Usually the college guys have a little bit more of emphasis in the weight room, right?
Yeah.
Develop physically, but also a little bit more mentally, right? Because they are 2, 3, 4 years older than most of these guys. So in that component, it was phenomenal. In terms of the intellectual course taking and the studying and getting degrees, I wouldn't say there's too much correlation with that, but
Yeah.
going the college route, that's I'm a huge proponent of that, right? Maturing, developing
Yeah.
on so many different aspects.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some sort of cognitive value from that too, just in general with goaltending being cerebral and
Mm-hmm.
just working your brain on a
Mm-hmm.
consistent basis. But so transitioning from college, kind of starting your pro career, then what do you think was one of the hardest things in that transition? Like, what was kind of maybe a shock that you weren't expecting, or a big, kind of reality check?
Yeah, well, I think to go back to what you're saying about time management, right? In college, you are scheduling, like I said, your social, your academics, your training. So you've got, three big components, and then playing professionally, you're really just focused on the playing, the performance,
Yeah,
right? Sure, the social component is important, spending time with your teammates, spending time outside of the game, but learning to manage your downtime, I think, was a huge, huge, huge area which I struggled with for a little bit. And I think it's one, I make the joke, a common joke I have with some of my buddies, right? Is my job is to stop the puck, but like my second job is to kill time, to do something effectively
yeah,
where I'm enjoying myself. I'm not thinking about hockey. I'm not stressing about hockey. I'm not worried about, what the ramifications of a good game, a bad game. I'm just enjoying my time, right?
yeah,
And different guys are going to have different avenues to pursue, right? I think when I was a little bit younger, video games and hanging out with the guys just online or having coffees, that's something that I really prioritized, and it was a really good outlet, right? And I think it's something that can help a lot of players. But I think it's a huge, huge area where guys, especially coming from college, struggle with, because they
yeah,
have so much downtime. And a lot of times, at least starting out, they don't use it effectively. I think a common flaw and something that maybe I pursued a little bit, and I think it's a common thing for maybe ambitious younger players, not just goalies, is to obsess about their sport, overanalyze it, think that, okay, now it's my job, it's my profession. What should I be doing outside of the rink? What should I be doing? What more should I be doing? And I
yeah,
think kind of the older I've got, the more mature that I've got, it's give 100% at the rink, fully focused, fully dialed in. And then once I leave the rink, you know, I'm putting hockey away. I'm still making smart decisions about when I go to bed, who I'm hanging out with, what I'm putting in my body, but
yeah,
it's not like I'm trying to review video of my practice for 3 hours
yeah.
to kill my downtime. I think that's just, it's something that's maybe counterintuitive at first, but I think it's a huge area which, especially goalies, you can go deep into, and it most often times ends up being detrimental.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's just at that point you can draw parallels to basically any regular job with
Mm-hmm.
that work life balance, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're taking too much of it home with you, then it leads to that burnout. And I'm sure you've probably actually played with some guys and seen it where it just doesn't even become fun anymore. Like it's just kind of why are we here type deal, right? So I don't know if you have a lot of experience with that, but yeah, I don't know. I could definitely see it being a thing.
Oh, 100%, 100%, Nathan. I think something that like I try to advocate for, I try to tell my goalies and tell myself, I guess it's the best reminder for myself, is that, hockey's supposed to be fun. You play hockey.
Yeah,
Hockey is a sport, and you should enjoy the sport. And the love for the game is going to take you further than almost any other attribute, almost any other characteristic. If you love the sport, if you're super passionate about it, that can take you further than, as crazy it is to say, even hard work, skill,
yeah,
right? Because if you love this game, you're going to be enjoying every moment of it. You're not going to enjoy
yeah,
every moment of it, but you're going to take the good with the bad. You're going to be excited to play. You're going to be having fun. You're going to be working your butt off, right?
yeah,
All these things are huge. You're going to be able to respond to adversity. You're going to be
yeah,
resilient, right? Because you love the sport. You're passionate about it, right? And for a lot of players, goalies included, right, their career ends once this sport stops being fun. And I played with
yeah,
countless players from, pee wee hockey to professional hockey, where you can see the player, the goalie, isn't having fun, isn't enjoying it. And you know that it's only a matter of time before they're done playing. Because if it's not fun, what is it? Right? Sure, you can play in the NHL. Sure, you can make millions of dollars in the NHL. Where maybe you can hate your job, but you're making a whole bunch of money and it's good. But for 99.99%, it's got to be the love for the game. It's got to be, enjoying the process, enjoying bits and pieces of it. Right? You don't need to enjoy 100% of the time, but having that passion, having that desire to stop pucks, having that desire to be with your team, having that desire to play in these high stakes games,
Yeah.
right? Like that's such a driving factor.
So then a caveat to that, kind of a side note, with your coach hat on, do you think that there's maybe too much emphasis, especially up here in Canada, on the younger kids being too specialized? Like, are we driving them too much when they're younger to be either goalies or just hockey players in general?
For sure. Oh, I think so for sure, right? I think the biggest piece of advice I have for parents and young goalies, even for you know teenage goalies, even for professional goalies, go play a different sport in the summer.
Yeah.
Go play a different sport. I mean, the way I've had it explained to me, generalization versus specialization is continuing to play sports when you're a kid is going to increase that athletic ceiling. It's going to increase your athletic potential.
Yeah.
Sure, you can play hockey 12 months a year, 365, and this is where you're going to stop, right? You're going to peak ahead of everyone and you're going to stop here. But if you start playing other sports, if you start developing, it's going to be that long, slow, I get it on the screen, long, slow kind of exponential
Yeah.
rise, right? Or your athletic ceiling is going to be higher in and in more ways than one, right? You talk about just the physical components, playing different sports, you're learning different movement patterns. Most often not,
Yeah.
you're developing hand eye, foot eye, leg eye, body coordination, right? These are so
Yeah.
integral for being able to learn new skills, learn new movements on the ice.
Yeah.
You're in a different position, so you're not stopping puck. Your mind is taken away or gets a break from all the stress, all the nerves of stopping that puck, having your whole team depend on you, right? Play a different sport in a different position. You start to see the game in a different way. Oh, I'm playing soccer now. Okay, well now I'm a midfield. Now I'm a striker. I'm shooting the ball. Oh wow, like it's easy to kind of infiltrate the defense this way. Oh, the goalie's playing it weird this way. I wonder how. Oh, does that parallel to my position in net? Oh, I wonder if I could
Yeah.
start doing this. Maybe I read the play a different way. Maybe I learn to read the play as a player, as a striker, as a forward, right?
Yeah.
And for sure, I think unfortunately it's unfortunately it's at kind of the parental level, right? Where a lot of people it's still I want my kid to do this.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's an ego thing. It's like you're an extension. The parent is the extension of the kid, or the kid's the extension of the parent, and they want
Yeah.
them to play in the NHL or play at this highest level because it looks good on the parents. Where that's actually incredibly unfair and incredibly sad too, because ultimately it just leads to loss of love for the game. You start to hate the game, and then you start to resent your parent, right? And I've seen that like countless times throughout my career. It's sad.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's I don't know. There's always debates as to what we can be doing to get more kids involved, especially at the goaltending level. But yeah, a lot of it comes down to, the kind of crazy pressure that gets put on hockey players, especially in Canada too, and goalies especially too. It's very unrealistic and, like you said, unfair to the kids to kind of put that much on them. And
Mm.
especially, like, it's not even just the parents, like some of the
Oh
coaches or
yeah,
the
yeah.
organizations that are doing some of this stuff too. It's I don't know, it's pretty, like you said, kind of sad just that's what we're, having these kids go through, and they do, you know lose the love for the game and all of that stuff. um when we're talking about, playing in the pros, then, because especially when you're at the quote unquote lower levels,
Mm.
on the farm teams,
Mm.
the coast, all of that stuff, How tough is it as a player to kind of know that you might be bouncing around a little bit, right? Like you might be called up, you might be sent down, you might be loaned to another team, kind of all of that stuff. And when it does happen, like how does that affect you mentally?
For sure. It's fun going up. It's not too fun going down. I'll tell you that for
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's one of the big why I said learning to kill time effectively is such a skill in professional hockey, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't fill this void with an activity, a hobby, something you like to do, then it usually just ends up to you just perseverating on what's going to happen in my hockey career. How did this practice go? How did this game go? Am I going to
Yeah.
get sent down? Am I going to get sent up? Right. So all this energy goes into stuff you can't control, and it just really wears on your mind. So
Yeah.
it's such a huge component. It's such a huge component of this position, of this game, of that level, if you will. And I think usually the guys, girls, goalies that are able to continue having a career, continue playing, are the ones that are able to just kind of attribute that to things they can't control and stay focused on the things they can, right?
Yeah.
And the more, like I said, the more energy you put into that, the less energy you have to focus on the things that matter, right?
Yeah.
Your attitude, your effort, your preparation, how you're going into each practice, how you're going to each game. And so this is such a skill, and this is something that I don't think you ever fully master, but hopefully you get better at it throughout your career, right? And I think that's a
Yeah.
huge reason why you see, a lot of good college goalies, maybe not a lot of good college goalies, and then, fewer good pro goalies, right? Because there
Yeah.
is this big mental component where you have all this dead time, you have all this space, and
Yeah.
a lot of goalies just get roped up into this way of thinking.
Yeah. Goalies overthinking? Never.
Heard of it? Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any like tips maybe to kind of help deal with that or to get better at that?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And it's gonna be quite individualized, but I think finding
Yeah.
something you love to do outside of the rink. I think it's helpful if you can find something to do that is, moderately beneficial, right? So whether that's taking a course, whether that's reading, whether that's starting your own business, whether that's volunteering, whether that's maybe even picking up a part-time job. Some guys I've played with are doing, an internship while they play, are doing a part time gig, right?
Yeah.
Filling this time with something. I think it's great to fill that time with something, constructive, something that challenges you mentally, something that you're kind of working towards. And then I think it's important to have some dead time in your day, right? Some
Yeah.
time for, I'm not really too big into video games anymore. I used to be when I was younger, but having some time to play video games, having some time to go for coffees with the guys, having some time to just kind of veg out, watch Netflix, let yourself go a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you don't want to do that for 8 hours a day. As soon as you finish practice, you don't want to maybe
Yeah.
play video games for 10 hours, go to bed at 2 a.m. But I think it's incredibly important to have that downtime, that time away from the rink, right? And
Yeah.
if you can, learning to manage that effectively is arguably, like I said, the second most important thing in your roles and responsibilities as a professional goaltender. Stopping the puck,
Yeah.
number one. Managing your downtime, number two.
Yeah, for sure. And is it good to try and find something that works for you that you can take with you in case you are, called up, sent back down, moved on, traded? Because, a lot of times these guys have no idea something's coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is it better to maybe find something that is a little bit more or a little less location dependent then?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I think again depends kind of the individual too,
Yeah.
right? I mean, obviously it's nice to have something remote or something digital, but if you're volunteering for one hockey program here, volunteering coaching for one hockey program in, let's say, Maine, where I was, you can still do it in Laval, right? And
Yeah.
setting up those routes and Obviously, with everything becoming a little bit more digitized, with stuff moving more and more remotely, that is a big positive to it. But I think just finding what works for you, right? I would definitely recommend having some dead time in your schedule each
Yeah.
day where you can veg out, where you can play video games, where you can watch Netflix, where you can cook for yourself, right? Stuff like
Yeah.
that. Clean your apartment, like just stuff that's like gonna require zero effort mentally, so you can
Yeah.
literally just shut down, right? Whether it's
Yeah,
taking a
for
nap,
sure.
but I also think it's important to have a little bit of neural stimuli, whether that's
Yeah.
reading, taking a course, building a business.
Yeah, for sure. So when you transition then over to Europe from playing in North America, what was kind of the biggest shift there? Like, was it the style of play or was it more like, the lifestyle? Like, what do you think was kind of the biggest change for you?
It's a good question. Yeah, I think lifestyle for sure. Lifestyle, different cultures. That's the
Yeah,
biggest for sure, right? I've played a lot.
language.
Yeah, language. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
man. That's a big difference. That's a big
yeah,
difference. Um, Played a lot in Slovakia. Played a season in Finland, and just dealing with different cultures, dealing with different languages, different customs, right? Pretty
yeah,
much anything you think that's normal in North America, just kind of like do the opposite of it in Europe. That's, again, kind of
yeah,
a joke that I make, but it does have some, all good jokes have a little bit of truth to it, right?
yeah,
So I think being able, and this is a really good skill to have becoming a professional, is learning to be adaptable. And I think
yeah,
earlier on in my career, wasn't very malleable. I was very kind of like strict. This is my routine. I want to do this, because I know when the practice is, I know when the warm up is, I know when our meeting is. And then as I kind of moved on, learning to be more flexible, learning to be malleable with the time, learning to understand that, okay, I didn't get my ball work warm up in, or I wasn't able to do my goalie skate in the morning. Okay, it's still okay. It's okay. Let's have a great practice, or let's still benefit from this. Let's not, pour too much emotion into missing something, right? And I
yeah,
think that is a huge component to playing professionally, and especially in Europe, because a lot of the traditions, a lot of the cultures are very different to North America.
yeah,
And my first year overseas, first full year, I definitely struggled with it to start. And I don't think I had a great start to the year because of it, just because I was like, oh, what's going on? What are we doing here? This doesn't make much sense.
yeah. Yeah, no, I love that adaptability because I think one of the things I've noticed in players, but especially goalies that I know that have gone on to higher levels, it's that ability to adapt, especially like to the change in level of play and like, adapt to the big stage, the big games, and all of that stuff too. And then when it comes to my experience with Europe, I know because I was part of the junior team Canada ball hockey
Sweet.
world team, and we went to Bratislava in 2014. And so our whole team's down in the sauna, and we had a hotel employee come kick us out because we were wearing bathing suits. They were like,
Yeah.
you know, no, you got to be completely nude if you want to be in the
Yeah.
sauna.
Oh
And
yeah.
it was like, we're all like, what? So, and then they claimed that it was unsanitary to be wearing the bathing suit.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of interesting the different points of view you get to see when you're overseas
Oh
there.
yeah. This is the wellness centers. It's a funny time. Yeah, for sure. A lot of different customs. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So were you in North America or were you overseas when COVID hit?
I was in North America, so I had a contract with the Wolfpack, with Hartford Wolfpack, and fortunately, whatever you want to call it, they canceled my contract because my team in the coast, the whole Northeast Division, was canceled. So there was a lot of speculation on whether the American League was even going to start up
Yeah,
or what was going to happen with that. I think there was I think various teams in the coast maybe started later,
Mm,
but it was kind of a tough situation where if I didn't play in the American League, they wouldn't have a team for me to play, and they basically ended up just canceling my contract,
yeah.
which was tough, but it afforded me an opportunity to go play in Europe, in Slovakia actually, for 6 weeks or so. And I went over there, played well, and then I got a call to play in Tucson, Arizona. So it ended up working out. I got both. I got the European and North American
Yeah.
experience there. So it ended up working out.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah. I imagine that it affected a lot of you guys in various pro leagues there,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of sucks. But in your experience, like, what do you think? Like, how do you see the approach to the game differently between North America and Europe? Like, I know, I mean, most of us have heard stories. We haven't really experienced what Europe's like, but it seems like the emphasis, especially when it comes to goalies on development, is a lot more prominent,
Mm-hmm.
especially early on. So, what's kind of what you've seen when you've been over there as compared to what we see more over here?
It's a good question. I think I'd say the first thing obviously is the ice size, right? So the
Yeah.
ice size, it's bigger ice, wider ice in Europe, which makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be situational. It's going to be league to league. What certain leagues, how the style of play, the level of play, various things like that, right? I think a big key component is that, as many people know, is a continent. There's a lot of
Yeah.
different leagues there. There's a lot of different
Yeah.
styles of play. There's a lot of different defensive, offensive zones, ways of doing things, right? So it's tough to, sometimes when people say North America to Europe, it's maybe a tough comparison,
Yeah.
right? Just generally, I feel like maybe I'll talk in terms of Slovakia. Slovakia is a fairly open league, right? So there, I feel like with the wider ice, there's less emphasis on players driving wide, trying to funnel pucks off the pad, less traffic in front. And I would say it's a lot more 3-on-2s, a lot more 2-on-1s, a lot more kind of rushes up and down the ice. So as a goalie, you're called upon to make more, in my eyes, more open ice kind of grade A saves versus in North America, a little bit kind of like the coast style of play, where a little bit more like North America, there is still a lot of driving wide, trying to go for that far pad, crash the net, rebounds, traffic in front, cutbacks below the goal line, low to high like that.
Yeah.
When I played in Finland, it was very defensive. It's common in Finland, like for both teams to get under 20 shots a game.
Yeah.
And this is a different component in itself, right? Because it becomes a little bit more of a mental game, where
Yeah.
sometimes in the coast or sometimes in Slovakia, I'm getting 40 plus shots. Where in
Yeah.
Finland, if you're seeing, 15 shots in a game, which is not outrageous, it's it's tough to stay in it sometimes. It's also a tough
Yeah.
metric to measure your game by too, because if you give up one goal, it's great stats. It looks awesome. But if you give up
Yeah.
three goals, it's like, what is this guy doing?
Yeah.
What's his problem? He had a bad night. But if six or seven of those are grade A's, you maybe don't have all this like these like filler shots or
Yeah.
bad shot attempts too, right? So there's so many different styles of play, and learning to adapt again to each one, and learning to like mold your game to kind of each style of play, and learning to deal with these different chances and different styles of offensive zones, defensive zones.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So kind of transitioning then to, the coaching side of things, because
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing. You've got LaCouvee goaltending.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think was your inspiration to wanting to shift towards coaching? And I guess how long have you been doing it too?
Yeah, for sure. What was my inspiration? What was my inspiration? I think, well, originally it started out just as a little side hobby, just as a way to kind of work with some goalies, make a little bit extra money, not play video games, right? Fill this time
Yeah.
with something that's a little bit more productive, I guess, than just sitting
Yeah.
around and playing Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And then as I started to do this, I realized how much I actually enjoy it. I realized how rewarding it is. I realized I love to, give back to the goalie
Yeah.
community. I love to work with younger goalies to, share my story to help them through their struggles, their adversity. And I found this to be super rewarding, super fun, for lack of a better word. And the more I started to do it, the more I realized that, this is a pretty cool job. This is a pretty cool position to be able to, work with young athletes, work with young committed goalies, work with people who are driven, who are motivated and want to get, into the highest level of play. And I thought it's a really, really great job, great position. So that's how it kind of started. I've been doing it for, with my own company for 2 years now. This is the second year, very fresh. So there's tons that I need to learn. It's an ongoing learning process, but it's
Yeah,
also a
for
really
sure.
cool learning process, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm learning this game from a coaching perspective, and that's like really, really helping me understand the game from a playing perspective, right?
Yeah.
I don't know the exact. I think there's like four components of development, right? It's like unconscious. What is it? Unconscious programming. It's basically right. Like when I go to teach something now, I'm like questioning myself. How do I actually teach this? How do I actually enact this
Yeah.
movement? How should a goalie act this? It was really cool. I had NHL goalie coach call me this morning before I went to work out, and he was talking to me about one of the posts I made on my account, and he was just weighing in with his thoughts and what he saw
Yeah.
and what the goalie could do in this situation. And this type of coaching, this type of development is super interesting for me. And it's not only helping me become a better coach, but it's helping me become a better athlete as well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For some of the younger goalies out there, if you have a chance to hop on with a local goalie coaching company or whatever, even just over the course of the summer, it's crazy the perspective you get and the different looks. Like what I know now, and I'm still learning too, like you said, but it would have been incredibly helpful when I played, like just the new perspective and the stuff I've learned, and like you said, that different thought process, because I was trying to probably a year and a half ago or a year ago, I was trying to figure out the best way to explain to a new goalie like how to do an inside edge push,
Mm-hmm.
and breaking it down. I'm like, this kid's trying to push off to the side and there's nothing there to push off of. So we talked about pushing down into the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that, even though subconsciously you're doing it, you never really realize that that's a way to explain it, or like, kind of a way to think about it when you're going through it. Like when I was playing, it'd be nice to know, oh, let's think about pushing down into the ice, not off to the side and blowing out all the time. So I think it's really important, if you guys get a chance to get some coaching experience. It definitely helps your game for sure.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I was able to coach a little bit, growing up too, but
Yeah.
I wish I started coaching from a younger age, because just the level of like knowledge and understanding the I don't want to say tricks, but the keys, right? The keys in your own head, right? Pushing down into the ice, right? Just
Yeah.
understanding little components that work for you, that make sense to you, is so powerful, right? And understanding it earlier on and being able to teach it, being able to coach it, so important. So important for
Yeah.
your own
And
development.
yeah, and the doors it opens to, like you get to work with, some great minds, some great perspectives too when you're kind of going through and up and coming too. Like some of the mentorship you can gain
Oh
too.
yeah.
It gains a huge perspective.
Oh yeah, man.
So
It's been absolutely phenomenal. It's been
and
absolutely
and
phenomenal. I love it. Like I said, I started
yeah,
just doing it, helping out at a couple camps, helping out with goalie coaches, still helping
yeah,
out with them. But then I was like, I would like to start doing this on my own, right? Voice my own opinions, this and that.
yeah,
And it started, like I said, just because it's kind of something to do, a little bit of extra money. And I was like, wow, I really like this. This is really rewarding. This is fun.
yeah,
You're meeting new
yeah.
people, you're interacting with new people, you're learning more about the game, you're making a change in someone's life, hopefully, right? It's like, this is sweet.
Yeah, and it's awesome seeing the moment when it clicks too, when you get a goalie track a puck and make that save right in front, and they're
Mm-hmm.
like, "Whoa, that was so easy!"
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like, "There you go."
yeah,
Yeah, it's great. So as a coach, what do you like to look for from your goalies, and kind of some of the important things that they should be working on to kind of be, you know, getting to that next level?
yeah. That's a great question. That's a great question, and one that I'm still developing with, one that I'm still kind of understanding in my own. I
Yeah,
think for myself, my teaching is based on three pillars, right? You have a technical pillar, so your technique, your save selection, your movements. The tactical pillar, so thinking like a player, reading the game, depth management, face-off positioning, certain things like that, and then the mental component, right? How you're managing in zone, in your mind, in the game, when the whistle's blown, when the puck's shot, over the glass, how you're managing your game, how you're managing your mind going into the game, what breathing techniques you're using, kind of what you're saying to yourself, what affirmations. So those are three kind of distinct pillars that I believe to be very beneficial and something that I kind of want to teach based upon. As far as like each individual component you're talking about,
yeah. I mean, just I don't know. I guess like just what you think that goalies should be like. You don't see enough goalies working on or putting enough emphasis on that really makes a difference in their game. So it could be, I guess, yeah, if you want to go with the pillar route, or if you want to
yeah,
go with like more of an individual route. That's like for me personally, what I've learned, and I wish I knew this, like when I played, is the importance of that cognitive training
yeah,
into when it comes to on the ice, or even what you do off the ice, since on ice is so limited. So that would
mhm,
kind of be like an example from me.
okay,
So
yeah. So I think the biggest thing for me, it's going to depend on the age, right? It's going to depend on the age, the level of
yeah,
play, the
yeah,
goals. There's so many individualistic variables that you need to measure,
yeah,
right? I think something that's been super prominent in my own career right now is the tactical component and the mental component, right?
yeah,
So big thing I'm trying to teach all my goalies is, yeah, have a great skate, go out, work hard, do all this, learn the technique, but then just go out and watch the NHL playoffs. Go
yeah,
out and just kind of have that ISO cam on Bobrovsky, on Skinner. What are they
yeah,
doing well? What are they maybe doing incorrectly? Why are they making that save? Why are they letting that goal in? And is like understanding to think like a player, understanding to
yeah,
think like a player, understanding to read the game, why certain situations occur, right? Scanning for threats, understanding a player on his backhand, on the half wall, coming down. That's not a goal scoring position, right? Understanding that
yeah,
that's probably a pass. That the threat is going to be towards the middle. And so I think this is a huge component that obviously the tactical and the mental that I would love my older goalies, I don't know, 15 to really start emphasizing because I
yeah,
think everyone who coaches, and I'm not an expert coach by any measure, man. I'm learning this position. I'm
yeah,
making it up as I go, right? Just like
yeah,
everyone. But I think any coach can tell you how to do technique, how to do proper technique, right? And I think not to say that I'm a excellent goalie coach or an excellent goalie, but I've managed to play professional. I've managed to play
yeah,
collegiate, and I have an understanding of some of the positions to a higher level than maybe your average player, average coach, right?
yeah,
And I think that so many goalies so many schools of thought is just to coach a goalie through technique, right?
Yeah.
Because maybe that's the level of understanding that the coach has, and that's the direction they want to, or that's the route they provide to their students, right?
Yeah.
But I think ultimately, like that next level, if you want to be an elite goalie, if you want to, get a scholarship to make money doing it, it's learning the game, pattern recognition, understanding that, this problem occurs, right? Many times in a game. Players drive wide, drive around the net, pass up the point to point. This is a very, very common pattern recognition, and how you evaluate it, what movements you select, and can you do it consistently, right? So I think for me, like that tactical component as well as that mental component is hugely underdeveloped.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I really want to develop with my goalies and develop with myself, right? I think kind of
Yeah.
doing this is coaching is a cool experiment for myself because it's kind of like a case study.
Yeah.
If I go and suck for the next, however many years I am while I'm playing, well, then I don't have any grounds to stand on. But,
Yeah.
hopefully if I have a couple more good seasons, then, a little bit of the proof in the pudding, right? Obviously, it's going to be an individualistic standpoint. Just because
Yeah.
you're a good goalie doesn't mean you're a good coach, and vice versa. But it's
Yeah.
nice. It's nice to be able to kind of, I guess, propagate an idea from a coaching standpoint, and then back it up on a playing standpoint. And if, sure, the sample size is just myself one on one, but you start to see works for more goalies, then why not?
Yeah. No, for sure. And that's coming up a lot nowadays. Like I think even 5 years ago, not a whole heck of a lot of coaches and people were talking about it. But yeah, the amount of people now that are involved in the goalie world that are talking about watching a game and not just the TikTok reels or even the Sportsnet highlight packs,
Yeah,
right? Like, that subconscious kind of, you might not realize that you're watching a play develop, but you're taking that information in, and that's something that'll, whether you realize it or not, help you on the ice. So for sure, that's something that I think is maybe becoming a bit of a dying art in the current environment we're in.
oh,
But
yeah, 110%,
yeah.
110%. And it's something that, isn't sexy. It isn't like a big, you know, TikTok hack, Instagram goalie reel hack, right? But go and
Yeah.
watch that game. And I didn't watch a lot of hockey, I don't think, as a young kid. And I think it shows in various components of my game, right? I think, if you watch a sport enough, you're going to pick up on these subtle cues. And if
Yeah.
you're a young goalie, watch the full game, obviously, but like have that ISO cam on the goalie, right?
Yeah.
Like don't just watch it as a fan where they're, oh, this and that, but analyze it, right? That's what I try and teach.
Yeah.
Analyze it. Why are they doing these movements? What worked? What didn't work? Why are they
Yeah.
making these saves? Where are they at in the crease?
Yeah, for
Right?
sure.
Where's their head at when the puck's, in the corner? It's so many different things that you can just learn. And that's
Yeah.
the best person to learn from. Sergei Bobrovsky, Stuart Skinner, right?
Yeah.
Jess Durkin, Ottinger, the guys playing in, Stanley Cup finals, semifinals, right? Conference finals. Like, this is who you should be learning from. You shouldn't be learning from, me. Maybe you could, but you know what I mean? That's the highest
Yeah.
level of the game right there. And that's
Yeah.
free to watch. People talk goaltending is super expensive, hockey is super expensive, but it's free, TV package, sure,
Yeah.
to watch the best players in the world do it.
Yeah. Well, and even like take advantage of your local options too. Like if you have a
Oh,
local
yeah.
junior team or a
Yes.
college team or
Yes.
whatever. And like you said, the ISO cam, well, whatever your home team goalie is, watch them the whole game, or the opposing goalie too. Like even when the puck's at the other end, see what they're doing. Are they watching the puck? Are they like, how are they staying in the game?
Yes.
Right. Um, I think for sure that that's something that we need to encourage, the younger athletes to do a little bit more of.
100%.
Um, so what are kind of some of the common mistakes you see then as a goalie coach?
Common mistakes I see as a goalie coach. Common mistakes I see as a goalie coach. I mean, again, it's going to depend on the level, right? The age,
Yeah.
the individual. I'll give you that boring spiel to start, right? I'm trying to think of something that's a little bit more original than maybe just like tracking the puck or not
Yeah.
setting their feet. It's tough. I think maybe one that surpasses age groups is unnecessarily beating yourself up,
Yeah.
right? I think just being very hard on yourself. I was very hard on myself when I was a kid,
Yep.
and I think it helped me to a certain degree, but there's a threshold, right? There's a level of diminishing returns. There's a level where this starts to, like a bell curve. This starts
Yeah.
to hurt you. And I think again, it diminishes your love for the game, it diminishes your passion. So I think a very common mistake that kind of like supersedes age groups and skill levels is being unnecessarily critical of yourself, of having that kind of perfectionist mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree on that. I'm trying to be better with that as a coach too, because my perspective has always been like, okay, sure, our guy gave up, the pizza up the middle and it went in our net, but what could we have done better? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's just better to be like, you know what, play happened, caught us off guard. Oh well, next time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I do think that's a good one too. Is just sometimes you just gotta let it go.
100%. I think even
Yeah,
as a coach, sometimes, right, it's important to evaluate what you're doing, how you're coaching on the ice, and
yeah,
it's important to understand that a goalie can let a couple shots in or not do the drill right a couple times. And I think learning when to intervene is such a skill,
yeah,
right?
for sure.
Because ultimately you want the athlete to figure out the movement pattern, to figure out the save selection, to figure out what it is on their own. Sure,
Yeah,
you can coach them through it, but it's not until they have that connection in their mind that neural pathway, that neural link is going to be made.
yeah,
And like I know from a lot of goalies, right? It's especially goalie coaches. It's when to have that level of intervention. When to okay, should I say something or do I need to say something now, or should I let them figure it out? And like you
yeah,
said, I think this perfectionist mentality or being like super critical on yourself is just very diminishing.
yeah,
And you have to be able to understand sometimes when you don't have your best stuff, in a practice, like it's still okay that you get 6 out of the 8 reps in. It's still
yeah,
good to like finish on one good one, finish on tracking that puck, perfect rebound, set on it, finish with that, feel good with it, and then move on. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, for sure. Well, as we look at wrapping it up here, do you've got kind of, one or maybe a couple tips or piece of advice for the goalies out there to kind of, wrap up everything that we talked about and just leave on a good note there?
for sure. I think the biggest thing, and I tell myself this, I tell all my goalies this, is believe in yourself. Believe in yourself,
Yeah,
right? You need to be the person that believes in yourself. You need to have the greatest belief in yourself and understanding that you can do anything, understanding or believing that you can do anything, right? Don't set limitations on yourself. Don't
yeah,
set limitations on yourself. Believe in yourself, right? Believe that you're the best goalie at this tryout. Believe that you're the best goalie on the ice. Believe that you can not only make that AAA team, but you can be the starter there, right?
yeah,
Because if you start to think, okay, I'm probably like the fourth goalie at this tryout, I might make it. It'd be great if I got selected to the B team. That might be the reality. That might be the reality, right? But if you already set the limit here, that's really, that's where you're going to stop.
yeah,
And maybe occasionally, every now and then, you manage to pierce through that limit. You break through it just by some chance. You have a good camp, you do this and that, you do. But if you continue to set those standards high, if you continue to say, I can be the best goalie here, I can make this team. I can not only make the team, but I can excel in it. Not in an arrogant way, not in a cocky way, not in a way that you're better than anyone else, but just having that belief in yourself. I think that is so critical. That
yeah,
belief in yourself, super important. Love for the game. Love the game, right? Hockey is supposed to be played. Hockey is supposed to be fun. If you're
yeah,
14 years old and you hate this game, then quit, right? Then quit. Don't waste your time not don't waste your time putting yourself through something you hate, right?
Yeah.
If you sincerely hate it, then quit. Move on to something else. Find something else, right? But if you continue to foster that love for the game, right? And continue
Yeah.
enjoying it, continue playing, continue smiling, continue having fun with your friends. Understanding that every day is not going to be good. Understanding that days you're going to let maybe every puck in. Maybe you're going to get hit in the neck with a puck, and that sucks, and no one likes
Yeah.
that. But understanding that this love for the game, believing in yourself, two things that are totally in your control, totally free, don't require any amount of talent. I would say these are the two things that I would put out as, maybe one and two. And then the third thing I would say is work your butt off. You know,
Yeah.
be a super hard working goalie. Be the goalie that's competing for every loose puck in practice. Be the goalie that arrives on time, does the extra skating work in the morning or before the practice, stays on late, right? You look at any goalie that's playing at the highest level, right? They believe in themselves, they love the game, and they work their butt off.
Yeah.
It's
Hate getting
pretty,
scored on.
yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And I think these are like, you talk about advice for goalies, you talk about the biggest mistake. I think ultimately it comes down to the individual and the who they are as a person, right? Their characteristics, their character traits, developing the individual. Because, right, if you believe in yourself, if you work hard, if you love the game, we got the emojis going today, right? Then you're going to set yourself up not only for maybe a good hockey career, but a great life, right? And this
Yeah.
is what this is all about. Most goalies I work with, most goalies, most players, most athletes, you're not going to play professional. You're going to be very lucky if you play major, junior, college, or junior hockey. I need to
Yeah.
understand this. And this is not negative, this is not demeaning, but you need to understand this. I need to be transparent with, what your actions are on a consistent basis. Am I pushing myself? Am I loving the game? Am I believing in myself? Am I dedicated to this? Or am I just kind of giving 50-50? If
Yeah.
you're just giving 50-50, you can't expect to play professionally. You can't expect to play junior hockey. You can't expect to play major, junior, college hockey, right? But you can still be a better person. You can still learn so much from this game. You can still benefit from all the components of playing organized sports, right? And not to go on a giant spiel, but yeah, man, there's so many components that I think
Yeah.
just hockey sets you up for a better life, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we very much appreciate having you on, Connor, and it was great to have you. Why don't you let people know where they can find you and what you have to offer?
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, thanks so much, Nathan. This was great. Sorry the call dropped a couple of times. I gotta
Uh,
check in with
it's
the
all
Wi-Fi
good.
here. Awesome. Yeah, so you can check me out www.lacouveegoaltending.com. That's my website. At LaCouvee Goaltending on all socials: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I offer in person, so on ice training, camps, small groups, private sessions. Haven't really started doing it, but would like to get into off ice in person training. So maybe some goalie dry land. That's kind of coming in the future, but then as well as off ice virtual components, right? So video review, career consulting, and mentorship program I do with goalie coaches. So offer various on ice, off ice components, and just excited to continue being a goalie as well as being a goalie coach and learning more about this position and, hopefully positively impacting the goalies I'm working with.
Yeah, it's an awesome journey being a goalie coach and a small business owner as a goalie coach too. So, but yeah, we'll get all of that up in the show notes. So if you guys want to check out what Connor's doing and what he has to offer, following him on socials so you can see what he's doing over in Europe as well as when he's back across the pond coaching. We'll get all that linked up. Well, we appreciate having you on. Thanks for stopping by, and hopefully we'll connect again in the future.
Awesome. Would love to. Thanks so much, Nathan.